welcome to my new Guitar Nerdery video. Music theory is not boring at all, especially the topic musical intervals. They are the key to understand chords and scales. Why do chords and scales sound like they sound? Because of all the intervals they are consisting of. And while this episode is dealing with a theoretical topic, I want to keep it actually very practical. I mainly want you to learn to see intervals on the guitar so that you later on are capable to recognize intervals in scales and then also chords. I find it very important as a guitar player that you learn to see theoretical things on your guitar fretboard. It's the only way actually to get access to it. If I'm asked what is the perfect fifth of G, then I can immediately say D. And it's not because I'm thinking in notes and clefs, I'm thinking in guitar fretboard. I'm going to show you an easy way how you can memorize intervals on the fretboard. So let's get started. I've already made a video about learning all the notes on the fretboard in a very easy way. It's my episode number 58. I strongly recommend this if you still struggle with knowing notes on the fretboard. But still, if you do not have any knowledge about the notes on the fretboard, you still can gain something from this video. What actually is a musical interval? It's the distance from one note to another. In our Western music culture, we're dealing with 12 halftone steps. We are dividing an octave into 12 steps, so all 12 halftone steps make one octave. And we call also 2 halftone steps one whole tone step, so 6 whole tone steps also make an octave. Showing you on one string these intervals here. These were all intervals we have, and all these 12 intervals have names. And what you will probably get confused about in the beginning is that some of them intervals have double names. I'm going to show you now memorizable interval patterns that you can learn by heart and that will be of great help for you later on to analyze scales and chords. Seeing things, understanding things, it's really a key. The origin of this all is probably the C major scale. It consists only of natural notes. These are 7, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. If we start that order from the note A, we see these are the first 7 letters of the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And that's the way of thinking I'm going to show you now because I find it more accessible. About the C major scale, we have to know that it consists of 5 whole tone steps and 2 halftone steps. From B to C, it's only a halftone step, and from E to F, it's also only a halftone step. And all other intervals, all other steps, from A to B, from C to D, D to E, or F to G, or G to A, it's a whole tone step. So a whole tone step was 2 halftone steps. And these are 7 letters we use for note names. And that is the origin of using the interval names. We have the prime, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the 6th, and the 7th. And the octave is the 8th is actually again the first. So we have 7 interval types adapted from the 7 notes of the C Ionian scale, from the C major scale. And these 5 whole tone steps, they have a gap in between, a halftone step gap. If we take it also into account, we get 12 halftone steps. This is the reason why 12 halftone steps, 12 intervals, are categorized into 7 interval types. Some of them are minor or major, and some of them are perfect, diminished, or augmented. And all these different terms mean always one half tone step up or one half tone step down. Enough talking, let me show you the interval patterns on the guitar fretboard. I'm gonna use the root A on the low E string in the 5th fret. The first interval is the prime interval, and it's actually the interval 0, no interval at all, 2 times the same note. If I want to play it together, I can put it on 2 strings, the A here and the open A string. This is a prime. The next real interval, 1 half tone step, is called the minor second. It's very dissonant. On 1 string, on 2 strings, ringing together. Before further proceeding, I'm going to show you the first 4 intervals in 2 ways on 1 string and with wide stretches here on 2 strings. Because later on, if you have memorized all these interval patterns, if you want to think from the point of view of an open string, you can't use these interval patterns. In this case, you can use these. But from the perfect fourth on, I use the index finger as a finishing finger, so we can adapt all these intervals I'm showing here in the 5th position. We can adapt it to open string position. The next interval is the major second. It's 2 half tone steps. On 1 string, on 2 strings, still dissonant, but not that dissonant as the minor second, in my opinion. The next interval is the minor third. 3 half tone steps. On 1 string, on 2 strings. This is a very important interval. If you have in a scale or in a chord a minor third, then it makes it minor. The third determines if it's minor or major. So when we're coming to the next interval, the major third, 4 half tone steps, 2 strings. If we have a major third in a scale or a chord, it makes it major. This is the difference between the 2 words of major and minor. They are both determined by only 1 interval, by the third. At this point, I'd like to mention that I find it myself very confusing in English language when I talk about minor intervals, a minor third that makes the key minor, and talking about a major interval, the major third that makes the key major. Using the same words for different meanings makes it somewhat blurry. In German language, we make a difference in naming this, and I find it more logical. But language is what it is. So let's go on. The next interval, 5 half tone steps, is the perfect fourth. And now I'm going to show you only 1 interval. I'm going to show you only the version on 2 strings. This is how a perfect fourth sounds. I can't prevent it, but the next interval is probably the start for you to be confused about things. The next interval, from the point of view of the perfect fourth, if I raise it 1 half tone steps, so from 5 to 6 half tones, then we call it an augmented fourth. Then the next interval, 7 half tone steps, a power chord. Power chord is root and perfect fifth. Keep that in mind. This is a perfect fifth, 7 halftone steps. From the point of view of the perfect fifth, if I lower it 1 halftone step, I can call it a diminished fifth. But this is actually the same interval as an augmented fourth. This has a special reason. We want to prevent to have double intervals in scales and chords. If we have in a chord a perfect fifth and a diminished fifth, then the diminished fifth is called augmented fourth. So we still have a fourth and a fifth and not 2 fifths. Keep that thinking in mind. That happens a lot when we're talking music theory. It goes on with the sixths. The interval 8 halftone steps is the minor 6. The next interval is the major 6, 9 halftone steps. Going back to the minor 6, from the point of view of the major 6, if I lower it 1 halftone step, it's the minor 6. When I raise the perfect fifth 1 halftone step, it's an augmented fifth. And here again the reason is we want to prevent that we have 2 sixths or 2 fifths in a chord or in a scale. The next interval, 10 halftone steps, is the minor 7th. Here I'm changing to the D string. The next interval, 11 halftone steps, is the major 7th. And then we have the octave. Then we are through. Let me repeat all intervals, all interval patterns. The prime, minor second. Major second. Minor third. Major third. Perfect fourth. Augmented fourth or diminished fifth. Perfect fifth. Augmented fifth or minor 6. Major 6. Minor 7th. Major 7th. Octave. This is my main recommendation for this episode. Learn all these interval shapes by heart, and they will help you to recognize these intervals in scales and later on also in chords. I'll give you a couple of examples. Let's take the A minor pentatonic. If you have learned all these shapes, you will immediately recognize, you will see that, okay, this is the root. The next note, that this is the minor third. This is the perfect fourth. This is the perfect fifth. And this is the minor 7th. The minor pentatonic consists of root, minor third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, minor 7th. You can see this if you have learned these interval shapes. And that helps you a lot, I promise you. let's take a diatonic scale, the A major scale. Or A Ionian scale. If you have learned these shapes, you will see that this is a major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh. How cool is that? And when you, for example, want to find out what the difference is between the A Ionian scale, the A major scale, and, for example, the A Mixolydian scale, then you see that this note is different from the Ionian version. But now you know what note it is, what interval it is. You know the Ionian scale has a major seventh and the Mixolydian scale has a minor seventh. Another example. Imagine you have learned the fretboard by heart and you can think your fretboard. You have an imaginary fretboard in your head. And then I'm gonna ask you, tell me what the major third is of A. Then you put on your imaginary fretboard this interval shape. Just read it. You can read from it that this is C sharp, the major sixth from A. You do not have to count 9 halftone steps up or 3 halftone steps down. You just put your shape on the A on your imaginary fretboard and you read that this is F sharp. This is so cool. And I have learned that all instrumentalists are thinking with their instrument, because this makes it organic. If you really want to get connected with your instrument, if you really want to understand it, you have to think with it. And finally, before I finish this video, for those of you who still have the energy to get through with it, I'm gonna explain to you some special cases that happened before. The interval minor third can be, in a very special case, an augmented second. And it's the case when you have a major third also in your chord or in your scale. The major third is an interval that always rules. The interval from the root 4 halftone steps is always a major third and nothing else. And it's the only third. It doesn't allow another third to be beside it. So if you have in a chord a minor third and a major third, then the minor third is degraded to the augmented second. And there's one very famous chord, the Jimi Hendrix chord, where this happens. This is a dominant 7 chord with a minor third and a major third. The major third makes it major and the minor third is only the augmented second. Look. Root, major third, minor seventh. If you have learned these intervals, you can see this actually. And this top note here is when I lower it 1 octave. It's a minor third. And because the major third always rules, is the reason why there is never a diminished fourth. A diminished fourth would be a major third, and that would be always a major third. And there's a second very rare case where an interval is categorized differently. Talking about the major 6. The major 6 is the diminished 7th in a full diminished chord, in a full diminished tetrad. In another video I will explain it to you, but I just want to mention that it can happen. So, before you get confused too much, I'm gonna stop here and say this was it for today. I hope it was not too confusing. I could make things clear. And remember, the main thing is just to learn these intervals. And if you get confused with these double names, augmented fourth, diminished fifth, keep it in mind that this can happen, but first just start to learn these intervals. And I'm sure you will come across these double names again and again in your guitarist's life. And I have learned once that you have to come across things 7 times until you really understand them. I say, let's go for it. I hope you liked the video and can make use of it. And if you not already have and like to support me, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I'm looking very forward to see you next time.